Okay, well, it ain't quite the holidays, but we are going to be talking about making lists and checking them twice. I am a big believer in making lists as part of the process of healing from narcissistic abuse. So let's talk about this list. So any of you have done my healing program or watched this channel, you know that I'm a big fan of make the list about all the terrible things that happen in the relationship. So when the euphoric recall, trauma bonding come up, you're like, okay, no. But when people come out of a narcissistic relationship, we know there's usually about a 2-week, maybe even a 2-month honeymoon period. There's a sense of courage, a sense of relief at getting out of it, of feeling strong, of not having to deal with the stress of the relationship. But the trauma bond isn't going to quit that easily. It takes a little hiatus, but as life returns to normal, the doubt trickles back in, and you are left starting to wonder if you did the wrong thing in leaving, or if they left you. Did you dodge a grenade? The whole thing becomes, I wonder if they changed for the new person. You may start hoovering yourself back in, checking their social media, ruminating, euphoric recalling. Now, we have already talked about the ick as an ick, gross, nasty, ew list, right? The list where you write down the awful things that happened in the relationship. Every bad thing they did. It's a reminder of why you left, or why it's so good that you are not in this anymore. The ick list should be created during active periods of anger, or with friends who watched you together and heard the stories. Ick lists are complicated and painful. I have helped many a client through ick list construction and quite a few friends. But some people have told me that making an ick list actually put them back, and they found themselves feeling ashamed and bad about themselves, that they felt bad that they would actually have stayed around for such terrible treatment. So, I mean, if making an ick list is uncomfortable, you don't want to do it. But that's not the only list. And the other lists aren't as depressing. The ick list, to me, is foundational for pushing through the trauma bonding and justifying, because just as you slide into a, was it that bad? You look at the various items on the list, the betrayals, humiliations, mockeries, manipulations, and you're like, yeah, it was. It's like a macabre and twisted photo album of pictures you do not want to see. The second list that you want to make is something I affectionately call the biscuits in bed list. It's an homage to my predilection for sometimes eating saltines in bed while playing ridiculous games on my phone. And it's a big enough bed that I can turn away from the crumbs. The biscuits in bed list is the little things we want to do, but couldn't while we were in narcissistic relationships. Perhaps because it was minimized, we were criticized for it, mocked, told that we couldn't, told that we shouldn't, whatever it was. It's the little stuff we gave up, just as we gave up so much of ourselves for these relationships. As I said, having helped more than a few folks with these lists over the years, the biscuits in bed lists, some of the stuff that folks have included beyond my little saltines quirk included on their biscuits in bed list are like, I'm now going to watch French films or any films with subtitles. They're like, I'm going to have a household that has no football on Sundays. Some people said they got a cat. Some people said they dressed in clothes that they liked and that better fit their sense of style. Some said that they love to bake, and now they're going to bake the desserts that the narcissistic person refused to eat and will get angry when they were made. Some folks said they were going to cook with garlic. Others said they're going to cook spicy food. One person said they were going to eat mussels. Another one was going to eat sushi. One person said watch 90 Day Fiancé. Others said sleeping in. As you can see, it's not big stuff. It's not the big stuff. And I'll talk more about the big stuff in another list at some point. Big stuff's like going back to school. But this little stuff, the biscuits in bed stuff, is like the death by 1,000 cuts stuff. It's a little stuff that we cherish and love and yet we give up. It's small stuff. So giving this small stuff up at the time may not have seemed as such a big deal. In fact, it might have seemed like the ordinary compromise of a relationship. So you're like, oh, so I don't make a lemon meringue pie. Big deal. Or you're like, I love sushi. I'll just get some grocery store sushi by myself and just eat it in the car. And you feel like, yeah, they're watching football. I'll just run my errands on Sunday. The many, many micro adjustments a person makes in this or any relationship. And the fact is, if your compromises were just about giving up chocolate mousse, the relationship would have actually worked. This was never about just the chocolate mousse. It was about having to give up all of you, big and small, and be made to feel smaller and smaller in this relationship. So when people make this list, it isn't about, okay, this is what I gave up. So tonight I'm going to watch 90 Day Fiancé and eat garlicky mussels. It's about doing these little things you gave up and really leaning into what you did have to give up so you can relish what you got back. That you can exhale again, breathe again, be yourself again. Live life in a way that works for you rather than in a way that appeases them. Sit down and make this biscuits in bed list. Really pay attention while you do it and consider breaking it down by relationship. We probably give up the most in intimate relationships, but some folks will say that once I stopped engaging with narcissistic family members, I was able to create some silly holiday traditions they always laughed at, but that I love. Whatever it is, those little things you gave up, not so little, they were symbolic of how much of yourself you gave up. Every so often I'm surprised, and I meet that strong-willed person who said, I didn't give up any of these things. But I must say it goes well beyond saltines for me. I love being able to watch certain kinds of movies or shows without being judged because they weren't serious enough, or organize the kitchen the way I wanted because it was my kitchen. They're little things that when you really mindfully lean into them, become yours, and a reminder that you had a lot of layers of manipulation to crawl out from under to start taking yourself back. So start small and snack in bed if that is your thing. I know it's not healthy, but I feel so uplifted that it may be better for me than I think to eat those damn saltines in my bed. I don't do it every night. And just as you hear this content, I'm hoping that there's some therapists, coaches, or therapists in training who might also be watching. I am launching a program in January of next year that'll be focusing on how to support and work with clients healing from narcissistic abuse. See the link in the video description. Thanks again, and to anyone still watching, make sure you make a list of those things you gave up and take them back. Thanks again.